welcome to the Total Soccer Show Weekend Review. There was a surprise at Anfield when Liverpool weren't able to overcome a team that are generally mid-table. Man United were impressive and wanted it the most. If only Cody Gakpo would stop aiming for the posts. The host defending left a lot to be desired, but for now, we'll hail the United sprightly hero, Harry Maguire. In Germany, the title race wasn't affected because Der Klassiker went exactly the way we expected. Dortmund came close but eventually felt the pain of yet another goal and assist from Harry Kane. Elsewhere, Inter got a win in Rome, Barcelona got a late win in their temporary home, everything went Milan's way, and there was plenty of action on MLS Decision Day. My name's Ryan Bailey. Joining me today, your friend of mine, Taylor Rocco. Hello, Taylor.
Hello, Ryan Bailey. A lovely introduction as always, lovely rhyming, and lovely happy Manchester United references to you.
Oh, you're so kind. We are on one of those rare podcasts, Taylor, where Man United fans won't be grinding their teeth throughout.
We'll see. We'll see. I feel like you'll still take some shots. I feel like you'll still find a way to take away some of the beauty and glory of this game.
Not grinding their teeth, but maybe cutting their hair.
Oh, yeah. One fan in particular,
closer.
Graham Ruthven. Hello.
Hello, Ryan Bailey. How are you? Did you have a good weekend?
I did. Not as good as Man United fans, because surely as a Man United fan, the win at Anfield, does it get much better than that? It doesn't, does it? Surely
Not
I don't
really,
know.
no.
I'd forgotten.
Yeah, what was it, 2016, the last time?
Yeah.
That's a long time, and a lot of managers
Louis
in
van
that
Gaal.
time. Harry Maguire scored in the winner. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. I enjoyed Match of the Day's captionary last night with a Harry Maguire goal, which they captioned absolutely slabulous, which I enjoyed a lot.
The NBC commentary kept referring to his sizable forehead or something like that as well. They didn't use the word slab, but they were close. They were close enough. But I've got to say, I thought Harry Maguire came across very well in the post-match interview. We can talk more about him later, obviously, as well. His last goal at Anfield was for Leicester before this one.
He seemed very confused in his celebration. I don't know if I was the only one who caught that, but he didn't. It was quite unnatural. He didn't know what kind of routine he was doing, what celebration. Then seemed to lose where the Manchester United fans were. So I guess if you're Harry Maguire and if you're Manchester United and you haven't won many games, that's going to happen.
Yeah, they'll tune that up. Amarin's got 3 years to work on those celebrations with his team.
Give him time. Give him time.
That's a good use of time, yeah.
Indeed. All right, let's get to that game and much more very shortly. Before we do so, patreon.com/Total Soccer Show is the best way to support this endeavour. You'll get bonus episodes, bonus video content, and access to our Discord server. Come have a chat with us in the Discord. It's a lot of fun in there. Patreon.com/Total Soccer Show. Best way to support us, please, and thank you. But Taylor, let's get to it, shall we? Liverpool 1, Man United 2. Brian and Mbumo, apologies, I'm still not sure on that one.
I don't know. It's all over the place. Do your best.
Thank you. I always do. Brian with the quickest Premier League goal this season after 63 seconds. Harry Maguire, the aforementioned, getting the winner after the aforementioned Cody Gakpo actually put one on target to make a change for his afternoon in this one. The first Liverpool league loss at home in 13 months. It was Nottingham Forest before that. More coming on them later. First Man United triumph at Anfield, as we mentioned, in more than 9 years. Liverpool have lost 4 consecutive home games for the first time since November 2014. Taylor, it was a wasteful Liverpool team in front of goal, I think it's fair to say. Sure. But, they had issues in defence. They had issues in midfield, not servicing their attack. They had issues in the attack itself. So there's plenty to be said about Liverpool, but also massive credit to Man United for pulling this result off. And when it went to 1-1, when it looked like, here we go, Liverpool are going to get the winner, they might make it 3-1, to hold on and to get the goal at that point, I thought Taylor was very impressive.
I think that is the most impressive bit for me, obviously, because they scored the goal and they won. But when there is that equalizer from Liverpool, I was already resigning myself to all right, you hold on, you got a point against Liverpool. It's a draw that feels like a loss for them. It's a draw that maybe feels like a win for you. And then that Manchester United are able to kind of fight back, put numbers forward, capitalize on a set piece again. It's a great ball in from Bruno, the one-time ball back across. And it's a great header from Harry Maguire. And so that is exceptional. That is hard fought for Manchester United. I am a Manchester United supporter. I say that up front to then say, we often talk about in games that go the way this one went, was this Manchester United being very good? Was this Liverpool being very poor, or a combination thereof? Those last 10 minutes is Manchester United being good and really backing themselves to make something happen. But I truly think a lot of this was Liverpool's own creation. How often they missed opportunities, how wasteful they were, and then how just disjointed they looked, both in attack and defense. And you see that with the opening goal when it's Virgil van Dijk. I don't think he even shoves Mbeumo into McAllister. I think he just kind of bodies Alexis McAllister, Virgil van Dijk, and there's that collision there. And it's interesting because Manchester United went direct towards Mbeumo like early and often. I think that is the only time it worked. I think every other time Virgil van Dijk won the header cleanly, but that time it didn't. And that seemed to sour Virgil van Dijk's mood for the whole game. He seemed very annoyed with everybody on his team the entire time. He is the one where it kind of like bounces off of him and then hits Kirkes in the face and goes out. And you see Virgil van Dijk immediately turn and scream at him as Kirkes is sort of dealing with having just gotten hit in the face by a ball. He's like,
how dare your face
sorry,
be there?
I could have done better. I'm sorry, Virgil. Please stop yelling at me. It didn't feel like an in-sync Liverpool performance. It didn't feel like there was that ruthlessness that we've come to expect. So even when they pulled one back, and it did feel for a moment like, okay, they found their groove. This is going to be Manchester United holding on for the final minutes. Instead, it was Manchester United who sort of rose to the occasion, rose to life, and made something happen.
Yeah, for the first goal with Van Dijk, I don't really know what he's doing. He seems to be signalling to Konate as if he's handing Mbeumo the runner on to Konate, but that is always Van Dijk's runner. Like, I can't envisage how he would ever think Konate was going to cover him. And there seems to be a real nervousness between Van Dijk and Kirkes in particular. There's not an understanding between the two of them at all. So when you consider that Manchester United, and we've spotlighted this a number of times on the show this season, the one thing that's been working for Manchester United in an attacking sense is their right wing. Their right wing has been very strong, and how they've gone quickly into the right wing directly to try and get Mbeumo into space. In this game, it was also Amad Diallo who was getting into space, and of course they combined for the first goal. So when you combine those two things, that was a real funnel into the attack for Manchester United that was really effective. And the way I look at this game generally is, yes, Liverpool were wasteful. I mean, Gakpo alone hit the woodwork, 3 times? There was the sitter right at the end as well, where he somehow heads wide. Isak had a chance in behind as well. Salah had that one where he sort of skewed a shot wide of the near post where, I mean, Salah's just off it at the moment. I don't know what his exit is. The weird thing is
that shot, Graham, was so wide as well.
Yeah, it's so. That's like how I would take a shot. You don't expect that from someone like Mohamed Salah, and that's the weird thing about him is he seems to be. We see players come in and out of form all the time, even the top players, but they maybe go missing in games or they're not having opportunities. Salah's getting opportunities in games. He's just off. I don't know what's wrong with him at the moment, but. And this is all to say Liverpool had opportunities. But the way I look at it, you're always going to have to ride your luck a bit to get a result at Anfield, no matter what team you are and what Liverpool team you're playing. That's just the way it is at that stadium. And so Manchester United did enough to put themselves within like 90 minutes of good fortune of a win, if that makes any sense. So like there's other times where they just wouldn't have been even within that striking distance. So even if they get a bit lucky, Liverpool are winning that game. Here, they were good enough to a point where, yes, they got a bit lucky, but that then resulted in them getting 3 points. So I give them a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say, Taylor, isn't it? There is another day where luck falls a little closer to Liverpool and they're 3 or 4 up, with Koda Gakpo not hitting the post so many times and other chances falling their way. But they were just disappointing across the field, Taylor. Like, as we mentioned, Virgil van Dijk not making some of the best decisions. He was very angry with everybody, as you mentioned. Should have been most angry with himself, arguably. Salah's got issues there. The McAllister and Gravenberch not exactly covering themselves in glory in this game either. There's problems all over the field for Liverpool.
I mean, there are. They have plenty of talent. I think they will be just fine. I think they will continue to challenge for the title. But this is the type of game that you expect them to win and sort of win comfortably. And to see those little moments and those individual mistakes do feel really uncharacteristic. They feel like a team that hasn't found that rhythm, that doesn't have that understanding, like Graham was talking about with Virgil van Dijk and Kirkes. And that's the Lammers. A lot of credit is being given to Lammens, the Manchester United goalkeeper, who was reliable and strong and solid. Good and didn't make mistakes, and that was an improvement. But at the same time, like, he just kind of comes off his line. Much has been made of like, oh no, he comes off his line so fast and he cuts down the angle, and it's still sort of like, yeah, that's not going to make Mohamed Salah shoot 10 yards wide. Like that's an issue unto itself, and it begs the question of should there be a bit more rotation? Maybe Salah does come out of the starting 11, which feels, I don't know, sacrilegious to say, but at the same time, if things aren't working, you got to shake it up. You got to try different things.
And the interesting thing about where Liverpool are now is it feels like for the first time Arne Slot, as the leader of this group, as the manager of this team, he's going to have to prove that he can build something on his own, because last season, of course, he was using the Klopp framework, and that was a very wise thing to do. And he kind of added his own little take on certain things, like in central midfield, Ryan Gravenberch, the way he kind of moulded him into an all-round box-to-box midfielder. Klopp didn't see him as that. And so I'm not saying Slot didn't do anything last season, but he kind of tweaked things, right? He tinkered around the edges rather than actually rebuilding the whole thing and reinventing Liverpool. Feels like Liverpool are getting to the point now where they've changed so much of the balance of the team, where they've changed the attack, they've changed the full-backs, and as a result, the midfield looks unbalanced. That Slot's going to have to implement his own methods and ideas, and that's an entirely new test for him. That's a new situation for Liverpool under him.
Yeah. Taylor, a characteristic of this Man United team is that they can beat Liverpool and Chelsea and then lose to Grimsby. What's the rationale for being better against better teams for this Man United team?
That's got to be like the highest ceiling and the lowest floor of any team we've seen in recent memory. Like, lose to Grimsby, also beat Liverpool at Anfield. Like, that doesn't happen very often.
A lot of Grimsby disrespect from you two, gotta say. I mean, it's the frustrating nature of Manchester United presently, and also for the last few years, is that, like, is this them figuring it out? Are they going to click? Or in that next game against Sunderland, will they find a way to drop points? And you never really know, which is kind of the nature of modern football, but at the same time, you still expect some consistency in performance. I think a lot of this game plays out the way it does because of that early goal, because Manchester United are able to kind of grasp that momentum, but also grasp that positioning so that now you can sit off and you can invite Liverpool onto you a little bit more. I think that was always the game plan from the jump. But when the other team is just going to be a little bit more desperate as time goes on and is going to start to throw more numbers forward, you can find opportunities to then kind of reassert your own level of control if you're Manchester United. I thought they did that at times. There were moments in this game when I thought for sure Liverpool were going to score a goal or a couple because of how passive Manchester United had become. And I think that is still very representative of them under Ruben Amorim, that sometimes they are very strong and they combine really well and they seem to have chemistry, but they also seem to have individual ability. But then there are other times when it just seems kind of static and slow, and I think that's the nature of playing against a more compact defense versus a more expansive Liverpool side or a more expansive Chelsea side. But it's still a very heartening performance. It has to be a very heartening performance for Manchester United supporters and for the players themselves and for Ruben Amorim to get that response. It's sort of a statement win, and I think it's something that you can definitely rally around and build upon.
Yeah, it feels like for the first time in Amorim's time as manager, they have a little bit of momentum, right?
Yep.
3 wins in 4 games. 2 of them have been over Chelsea and Liverpool. They're 2 points off the Champions League places now, having played Arsenal, City, Chelsea and Liverpool in their first 8 games, which is surprising. That
but right those are the ones they beat.
Well, they're such a weird team.
It's Fulham away that's going to be the problem.
Yeah, wait till those tough relegation candidates come along.
They're such a weird team in that regard, and that's kind of why I'm not ready to say.
Yeah.
I'm not even ready to say they're on the right path, to be honest, because after that Grimsby game and the Fulham game that came before it, I'd said like it was done for Ruben Amorim. I couldn't see it turning round. Go on, right?
Here's a question for you then, Graham. These 2 teams, Liverpool and Man United, are 2 points apart as well at this point. How many points apart do they finish this season?
10 in Liverpool's favour.
That much?
I still think there are real structural issues with Manchester United. Like, in this game, they didn't really need to be good in midfield in this match. But for the majority of Premier League games you're going to play, you're going to have to control matches, particularly if you're a team like Manchester United, particularly where they want to facilitate that attack. Where I do think they have upgraded their forward line quite significantly. I think Mbeumo has been really good in most games that he's played for Manchester United. I even thought Šeško coming off the bench in this game, slightly surprised he didn't start, but I thought he was reasonable in holding up the ball. I think he holds up the ball for Cunha to then win the corner that leads to the winning goal. So I thought he was decent. I also thought Cunha was really good.
He rules. He rules.
He didn't do a lot that sort of like showed up in the stat sheet, but he's just really good at taking the ball under pressure with a player or 2 on his back, and that was really, really useful for Manchester United in this game. They haven't had a player like that for a long time. So I think
he seems to like enjoy it. He seems like the type of player who's like, oh, you're going to try to body me while I'm on the ball? Well, you're getting it right back. Oh, you're going to try to body me as well? Other defender, let's make it 2 against 1. I'm going to find a way to come out of this. I really liked how scrappy he was and how every single time it felt like, oh, okay, he's kind of playing for the foul. He's going to go down and there will be a free kick. And he did do that on a couple of occasions. But for every one of those, there are moments in which Liverpool kind of stop because they assume the whistle's going to be blown. And then he turns and kind of splits the two defenders or lays the ball off and then gets it on the other end.
There's that one on the wing where it looks like he's lost the ball about 3 different times and then somehow prods it round the Liverpool defender and he's away. So, as I say, like nothing that sort of impacted the game directly, but I thought he was excellent. And just having that player that you can send the ball into and he absorbs it is really, really useful. And Man United haven't had that player for a long time. So there's like bits of progress from Manchester United, but it still doesn't feel like a coherent team that is moving fundamentally in the right direction. Yeah, as good a result as this was.
We shall see. We shall see.
I think a lot of people would make that same argument about Liverpool, and I've just seen so many memes and jokes about their signings and how poor they looked. And I will say, I kind of forgot Isak was in this game for a good 20 minutes or so, and then was really surprised to see him in there. And so I get where that levity is coming from. However, I think he is still kind of figuring out the system and the approach given the lack of preseason basically and then the timeout. I thought Ekitike, when he came on, was his usual dynamic, exciting self. He is the Liverpool player that I think I am most afraid of. He seems the one most capable to take people on individually and create, but then also pull in defenders and then find a wide open teammate to get a good shot off. Even Wirtz coming in and I think has a massive influence on Liverpool's equalizer and his kind of presence in the box and the hard work Liverpool put into, I think it's Dorgu is trying to carry out and he gets dispossessed and that's how Liverpool reestablished possession in such a dangerous position and ultimately equalize. So I did feel like there was positive involvement from a lot of the players that have come under pretty intense scrutiny, I think because we all had this expectation that Liverpool were already good, they're adding all this talent, they're going to be untouchable. They're going to win the league at a canter with 150 goals for, and that is a very high mark for them to achieve. And so I think figuring themselves out within the first 10 games and then establishing some level of consistency is going to see Liverpool exactly where we expect them to be. It's why I think Graham might not be wrong with the 10-point gap between Man United and Liverpool. I still think that could have Manchester United in the top 4 or top 5. It just means I think Liverpool will eventually find that ability to combine and score some goals, and Mohamed Salah won't miss very good chances at the near post.
Maybe not. Maybe not when he's in Saudi Arabia in a few months. Who knows, Taylor? Who knows how that one's going to play out? We've got plenty more Premier League to come on Weekend Review Extra, which you can access through our Patreon, patreon.com/TotalSoccerShow, because there's far too much to fit into this episode. But before we leave the Premier League, Graham, we should probably go to City Ground. Nottingham Forest 0, Chelsea 3. 10-man Chelsea.
I know you all are used to this. Sorry to jump in, Ryan. Having a team named Manchester City that everybody kind of shortens to City and then having another club play at the City Ground, it throws me off every single time because I'm like, they were away to Manchester City? I'm confused. I don't know if that's just me, but I want that on record that it confuses my tiny brain.
That's a fair point. It's a nice ground there, right on the River Trent. Yeah. It's a pretty cool location.
Wait until you find out that Etihad means United in Arabic. And City play at the United Stadium.
Uh-oh.
Oh, that's fun. Anyway, less fun for Ange Postecoglou was him losing his job 19 minutes after full time of the 3-0 loss to Chelsea. I mean, it's a bit of a hiding to nothing to expect to get a big win over Chelsea this weekend, to be fair. But it's 39 days after his appointment at Forest that Ange has been fired. He beat the previous record for Premier League boss being fired after 40 days, which was Les Reed at Charlton, which we all remember.
He didn't have the record, though.
Is that FDB?
No, he had 77, man. Big Sam at Leeds, 30 days. Ooh. In he came, out he went.
So I think the way that they're getting around that is he was just till the end of the season, right? He was like interim, but
interim.
Good company he's keeping. Les Reed and Big Sam.
But Graham, Big Ange's 5 Premier League games, the shortest permanent managerial reign in Premier League history is what we're calling it there. I think as we're recording, Sean Dyche and Marco Silva are in the firing line to get fired next by Marinakis. So what do we make of the mess in Nottingham?
Just on the Marinakis of it all and the theatre of how this unfolded for Big Ange at Forest, the shot of Marinakis not in his seat after about 60 minutes. You know the bit in Jurassic Park where they find the gates that have been burst open by the raptors? Uh-oh, they're out.
Yeah.
Like that's how I like it.
Clever girl.
You knew that something was up, and so yeah, I think everyone knew this was.
I'm now just picturing a decoy Marinakis in front of big Ange. He knows Marinakis is right there. He doesn't realize that the real Marinakis is off to the side, just waiting to eviscerate him and fire him. And that's exactly how that went down. Little known fact. Jumped out of the bushes, handed him a pink slip.
Like catching glimpses of him in the kitchen.
Yeah, exactly.
Going from one side to the other.
He knows how to open doors.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, obviously, look, I've been a bit of a big Ange advocate on this show. I don't have a huge amount of sympathy for him with this. And not just because he will be getting a nice payday for being sacked twice in 1 year, but because I thought he was nuts to take this job in the first place for a number of reasons. Like for the fact that Forest is such a volatile club with such a volatile Raptor owner, and the whole Edu situation doesn't seem to be ideal either, where he's coming in as a sporting director, but he hasn't really built this team, and so he wants to put his own mark on things, and so I think that's difficult. And then also for the style of play that Nuno played and how much of a 180 swing that was going to be for Postecoglou going in there, and it was after a transfer window. You didn't even have a chance to bring in players who could play the way that he wanted. I also, I'll also say that I don't think he helped himself in a lot of his comments. I thought were quite ridiculous. Like, he contradicted himself over and over again in the space of that 39 days. He said after his first game, like, and I brought this up in the show, how long before we see your style of football? And they had a midweek game, and he said, Wednesday. By the way, that Wednesday game, they lost 3-2, having been 2-0 up to lower league opposition.
Yeah,
so I guess you
there
can
it
see
was.
he was right all along. But then, like a couple of weeks ago, he changed his whole shtick to like, well, this is going to take time. So contradicting himself right there, and then he had this rant in the day before the Chelsea game, where obviously he's ultimately sacked. And I just found it like really condescending and trying to imply he was the only one who was seeing things clearly and we were all idiots for questioning his job security. And then 24 hours later, he'd been sacked. So I don't know whether he was just trying to like pull the wool over everyone's eyes, or just like saying those things to make himself feel better, or trying to spin his own PR line. But it just felt like it very, very quickly got away from him. And honestly, he could have been sacked sooner than those 39 days. It was an absolute disaster.
I do feel, Graham, that there was an element of like trying to make himself feel better at the end, because there's also a moment in his final presser where I think he's like discussing his legacy at Spurs and how like that's misunderstood. And there was a good piece in The Athletic where they kind of detailed how little he actually talked about Nottingham Forest, how little he talked about the supporters and the ground, and that's just an easy way to gain a lot of goodwill and a lot of positive cachet, is to praise the supporters and praise the club and praise the history and how honored you are to be there, and to spend the time talking about, we're going to change on Wednesday. Never mind, it's going to be a long-haul project. Never mind, I can do it shortly. But also, I don't understand why you guys are mad. And also, I was good at Spurs. What are you talking? It doesn't feel like he was kind of reading the room. And I think, ultimately, that is probably where I end up being the most surprised, is that it feels like if you're taking over this gig, and you know there's going to be a clash in style, and you know there's going to be a Raptor owner, like, you have to then incorporate that into the way you operate. And it feels, to me, for all the world, a little bit like the way Poch handled like U.S. media, where it was sort of like, we're all being very upset about friendlies. Let's calm it down. Like, we're going to figure it out. It's going to be okay. And I think when you are Mauricio Pochettino managing a national team, maybe you can get away with that a little bit more. Even then, there's going to be frustration. But by contrast, I remember feeling like Big Ange was sort of like, he was playing the game. He was saying what you normally say when you're in this situation. And he was trying to be kind of like an even tempo, even keel persona for a club that have been very turbulent. And then I think really quickly realized, like, oh no, we are in rapids and the Raptor owner can swim. And now I have to panic and kind of just like litigate why I should have been here in the first place. And I don't think that ended up doing him many favors. 8 games in charge, 6 defeats, 2 draws, no clean sheets, and a fan base that was, by the end of it, I think, very confused by everything he was doing, including that final starting 11, which worked for some of the game and then ultimately did not, is why I'm now excited to see Sean Dyche coming in. Let's make it happen.
It's a shame for Big Ange's credibility, ultimately, isn't it? Because it's done him a lot of damage these 40 days or so. Back to Scotland for you, Big Ange.
Well, I mean, Celtic would absolutely take him right now. Rodgers is struggling big time. But yeah, I agree, Ryan. I'd be very surprised if he got another Premier League job now. Whereas previously he could have waited, and I think he would have got another offer. But the way that he saw this job was clearly as a personal revenge mission, and that's why it didn't didn't work. He didn't at any point have a vision for actual Nottingham Forest. It was all about how he could prove himself and how they were wrong to sack him at Spurs, and his personal framing of it was all wrong.
Look, I look at somebody like Erik ten Hag, who certainly doesn't cover themselves in glory and gets sacked by Manchester United. But there is this idea that, like, yeah, it's Manchester United. They are chaos. That club, that, like, no manager can fix them. Clearly, that's not on him. And so Erik ten Hag gets another gig, and it goes the way it goes. With Big Ange, I don't think he gets that sympathy or that kind of understanding of, like, Marinakis is crazy, it's a turbulent situation, because I think he himself didn't navigate it well. And so it ends up looking like, did you know what you were kind of jumping into when you jumped into it? And once you were in it, why didn't you do better? Why didn't you respond more? I don't think there's a way in which you can say extenuating circumstances and kind of wipe the slate from this one.
Oh, and that's where my frustration and confusion with his final day rant comes from. It's like, either you don't believe what you're saying here, or you have no idea the situation that you're in. And lo and behold, a day later he's sacked. So it's just very confusing.
Oh dear. Well, could we see him in MLS, by the way? And Atlanta United have got a seat at the moment, so...
and whenever you can hire a short tenured Premier League manager to come over and do a job in Atlanta, it always works out well.
A Dutch twin, perhaps? Is there another one of those available?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Very good. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, Der Klassiker. Join us then. Total Soccer Show, welcome back to the weekend review. Let's take it to Germany, where Bayern Munich got a 2-1 win over Dortmund in the 139th Klassiker. Goal for Harry Kane and an assist for Harry Kane as well. That was Harry Kane's 400th club goal, possibly 400th goal this season also. Who's counting? Elise with the winner in this one as well from an unfortunate attempted clearance, shall we say. Julian Brandt with the late consolation for Dortmund as well. Taylor, that's 11 wins in 11 games in all competitions for Bayern. I mean, they dominated the first half in this one, but they still didn't get the job done until late on.
Yeah, which is maybe the like lingering concern and doubt for Bayern. I feel like specifically when it comes to the Champions League, because right now they look pretty comfortable atop the Bundesliga table. And this first half was sort of my worst case scenario. When I previewed this one for the Weekender, we got a few comments in the Discord and online from people basically just saying, like, Dortmund have actually been much more competent against Bayern. They've managed a lot of draws. They've sprung some surprises. They've been stronger themselves, and they seem to have kind of figured some things out and have a clearer sense of identity. And I think all of that can be true, and they can still have kind of had the same old issues that we've come to expect from them, at least in the first half, where I felt like they were incredibly passive with an eye towards kind of defending and countering. But I don't think that they had effective like plans in place to actually counter. It felt like it was just sort of played into the feet of a speedy player and hope that they can find a link up, or play it to Girassi and hope that he can hold up long enough for someone to get around him. But when Bayern are applying the amount of pressure they are and committing as many numbers as they were to the attack, it ends up just being a lot of desperation clearances and desperation long balls that allow Bayern Munich to reestablish possession and reestablish that dominance. And Kane gets that first goal in the 22nd minute. It felt for all the world like 2 or 3 more were coming. So you're totally right, Ryan, that is probably a worrying sign for Bayern. At the same time, I still have in my notes Bayern win this game 2-0, even though I also have in my notes a detailed description of what went wrong for Bayern for the Julian Brandt goal. It just felt like, yeah, they scored, but they're not getting another one. And that's not trying to be, I don't know, unfair to Dortmund, who I think did spark some positive changes and did have a much better second half. It just felt that, like, once Bayern scored, they were sort of like, second gear's probably good enough.
Yeah, it just felt like Bayern had more gears to go to in the game. And they were excellent in the first half. I think the fact that they were only 1-0 up wasn't actually reflective of how dominant they had been, because I thought they were relentless. And it was an interesting setup because there's no Serge Gnabry for this game. That then opens up a spot for Nicholas Jackson to start. That then pushes Kane into a slightly deeper role where I thought he was absolutely excellent. We should maybe touch on him in more depth later on. But yeah, Bayern were just the rotations through midfield. It made it so difficult for Dortmund to impact the game in any meaningful way. And then when Dortmund did have the ball, Bayern were right on top of them, and I thought their intensity was off the charts. The game, though, it did shift at the start of the second half. So Bensai Bayine, easy for me to say, comes on for Nicolas Süle. That sort of reshuffled the back three, and Anton moves to the right. Bensai Bayine comes over to the left, and then Schlotterbeck goes into the middle. Who actually, I thought Schlotterbeck, that gave him a position to then sort of dictate playing out from the back for Dortmund. I thought there was also a subtle change with Pascal Gross being sent slightly further forward, and that then helped Dortmund get up the pitch more. But honestly, Taylor, unless you spotted something different, which is possible, I didn't see like a huge tactical change from Dortmund. I just saw a team that was much more aggressive in the second half. They were bolder on the ball, and they had quite a lot of possession in the Bayern half. And if Adeyemi puts away that chance in 64 minutes, it's an entirely different game. And I wonder how the match would have changed after that. But Bayern were given a real game in the end.
I mean, I think that aggression can manifest in the press, and that was a big difference, I felt like, from the first half to the second. As I said, it felt like Dortmund sort of were backed into their own third, were doing a lot of desperation clearances, occasionally trying to kind of counter with a few numbers, but it felt like even when they did, they mostly kept numbers back. It felt like they were always very concerned about being too open and getting sort of torn apart as a result. In the second half, when they have to go chasing, that is when I felt like when there was much more aggressiveness to the press and more numbers committed further forward, so that they ended up winning the ball back in more advantageous positions or forcing Bayern into sort of hopeful long balls and trying to play a bit more direct. So I did feel like that there was that adjustment in how they were trying to engage and where, and I felt like it paid dividends. That Adeyemi chance is so good, and it's like losing his footing, but also I think not really being confident in the moment ends up with him just kind of scuffing that chance. Maybe if he had the Elise chance of just kind of having the ball kicked into you as you're running towards it, maybe then he would have finished it.
Am I the only one who has a little bit of sympathy for Joe Bellingham?
Oh no, there's nothing he can do. I don't think.
Yeah, like he kind of stretches to get for the first for the first touch of the ball, and then by the time he steadies himself, Elise's like right on top of him, and he tries to like clear it, and obviously just bashes it straight into. So I don't really know. I guess he could have let it run, but then he's taking a chance. There's nobody at the back post,
and there were two at the back post.
Right,
That's why he's trying to stop it in the first place. No, the only thing he can do in that moment is a move that, like, if it comes off, is sort of like, oh wow, that is very brave. And more often than not, it doesn't, and he looks like even more of a jackass, is stopping it like he did, and then just trying to backheel it as hard as he can, like, because maybe Bayern don't have the numbers to react to that, and maybe he ends up hitting one like 30 yards away from goal. But just as likely is he backheels it to Harry Kane, who one-times it into the top corner, and then he looks even more foolish. Yeah. No, I mean, I think he does well to make that play to stop the ball and not score an own goal. And then I think the commentators were saying, like, oh, you've got to get around that and clear it faster. I think he was trying. I don't think Joe Bellingham is slow. Like, I don't think he was like, well, now's the time to do some step overs and have a relaxing stroll and read the paper. I think he was trying to turn around and clear that ball. I just don't think he had the time. I do think Michael Elise was very alive to the situation, and I thought he was exceptional in this game. Obviously scoring the goal there. He tings it off the post just like in the first 20 minutes or so, I think it was. And it just felt like a very good game from him where you could see him kind of feeling it in the moment. It felt like maybe he'd gotten a little bit more attacking freedom with some of the limitations in this Bayern team. But ultimately, the praise must go to Harry Kane. I know Graham has thoughts on Harry Kane. I know Ryan loves him immensely and is Ryan's favorite England player of all time. But I just need to say the header is great. It's a great goal. It's a very Harry Kane goal for the opener. The assist, that wasn't an assist because it ends up being other players involved for the second goal. To watch it again from the wide angle, from the tactical cam, and realize that, like, he sees it before Luis Diaz. Luis Diaz is standing on the opposite side, right by the touchline, in Bayern's half, so he's onside. But he's walking when Harry Kane winds up to hit that one. And I think he realizes, like, oh, that ball's coming to me. I better get after it. It's not as though he's making some streaking run down the sideline and Harry Kane manages to find him. Harry Kane, with pressure on him, takes a touch, picks his head up, recognizes that 70 yards diagonally there will be an opportunity. That player isn't running, but if I make it very clear I'm playing this ball, he will start running, and that's exactly how that went down. That is some crazy vision from Harry Kane.
Just as a note, that I've called it an assist a couple of times on this show already. But
it is.
It's just because it was so good. I think that's why I categorise it, even if it's not technically. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and this was one of the best games I've ever seen Harry Kane play. He's just so influential for Bayern at the moment.
One of the best, really?
Yeah, but just because of like the all-round influence, like it felt like the game was on his foot. Like so much of Bayern's attack flowed through him. The number of incredible diagonal passes, that one for the second goal that we were just talking about, but there was others, and long-range balls, and he is really leaning into his quarterback identity. He's a big NFL fan, so I'm sure he's enjoying that. But like, it's interesting to see him make this transition for Bayern, because the discussion around him last season, I remember this in the first half of last season, was he wasn't getting involved enough. Yes, he was putting up the numbers, but he was maybe a peripheral figure in terms of the overall play. And now he's performing the role that he did so well towards the end of his time at Spurs, where just like he did everything. Like he's deep in midfield, he's out in the wing, he's also getting into the box, he's a penalty box presence. And I honestly think right now he might be the best player in the world at this moment. Like the way he started the season, his numbers are right up there with Mbappe and Kane, Mbappe and Haaland, excuse me. But he does so much more to impact the rest of the game than those two players. So like he's just incredible right now, and I think people are sleeping on that slightly. And I also think people are sleeping on how good Michael Olise is. Like Michael Olise since he's joined Bayern has been incredible. And one of the things people used to say about Olise at Crystal Palace was, yeah, hugely talented player who can produce anything with the ball at his feet, but maybe slightly languid in terms of his off-the-ball work and work ethic. Well, that is like no longer the case, as proven by the second goal in this game. Like the way he presses from the front is really intense. And yeah, I think that Bayern front line right now, it's probably the best front line in world football when you factor in Luis Diaz as well. And they've got Jamal Musiala to come back from injury in the second half of the season.
There we go. Bayern have got Club Brugge on Wednesday at home.
Sorry, Club Brugge.
R.I.P. Club Brugge's defence. Yep. Yeah, it's gonna take a battering there, it would seem. Very good stuff. All right, Taylor, anything more from the Bundesliga we want to touch on in this episode? So Bayer Leverkusen got a nice 4-3 win at Mainz, for example.
Would you like the Bundesliga catch-up?
Do it.
Leverkusen continued to remind us why Erik ten Hag is probably never getting another job, with their aggressive press and reacquired confidence causing huge problems for Mainz in possession. Leverkusen eventually emerged with a 4-3 win. Alex Grimaldo getting a brace. Martin Terrier returning from a ruptured Achilles in January. That feels like a very short turnaround time from a ruptured Achilles. But he comes back on, scores the fourth. Joy was had. Heidenheim, sort of joy of their own. They moved off the bottom of the table. They got a 2-2 draw, battled to a 2-2 draw against Werder Bremen. Very scrappy, very hard fought for both sides. Unlike Gladbach in their road defeat to Union Berlin, Joe Scally failed to deal with a direct ball in the opening minutes. He was sort of uncertain if the keeper was coming or if he was supposed to deal with it, so it bounced. Then there was panic. That led to a corner. From that corner, Danilo Duki scored a header, then got a second when he just sort of dribbled through the Gladbach lines, which would be a concern already, but also Duki is a center back who was able to just kind of very effectively dribble right through Gladbach and score. Rani Khedira added a third with a really well-taken volley off a partial clearance. That moves Gladbach to the bottom of the table. They are 18th with 3 points from 3 draws and 4 losses to start the season. Youngblood was in attendance for St. Pauli, but it was Batsuma Toure, the fastest of the fast in the Bundesliga. I love Batsuma Toure. He scored the opener for Hoffenheim in their 3-0 win. Hoffenheim once again looked very, very fun and very fast. I really hope Toure makes the Ivory Coast squad if and when they qualify for the World Cup. I got there eventually. I'm going to ask Joe to have words with Didier Drogba for me, because I assume Joe still has connections from Phoenix. Drogba still has connections from stopping a civil war. So, in the end, I hope Toure makes that team. Leipzig moved into second place with a win over Hamburg. Stuttgart are to third with a 3-0 smashing of Wolfsburg. And Frankfurt continued to have a tenuous relationship to defending, as the league's worst defense continued to be reverse best in their 2-2 draw with Freiburg. That easily could have been a loss if Matthias Ginter's last-minute attempt had gone in off the post instead of wide off the post. So it could have been a 3-2 loss. Instead, just the 2-2 draw for Frankfurt, who really don't like stopping goals. They really don't want clean sheets.
Reverse best is a great phrase. I'm going to work that into the lexicon.
I try.
Thank you very much.
Where are we on Youngblood as a show?
So, as a show, I thought Youngblood was a musician.
No, I'm saying like as a collective unit, this show. Where are we on Youngblood? Because I feel like I like him, but I feel like I might also should be embarrassed to say that out loud. I don't really know.
What I was going to say there was, I know who he is. I know what he looks like. I see him in TikToks and in various social media videos. Haven't heard a single one of his songs. I
had heard of him. I was introduced to him when he did the cover of Changes for Ozzy Osbourne's final concert. And I recall really enjoying that. And then he seems to be like an interesting, thoughtful person who supports St. Pauli, which I think moves him up in my estimations a little bit. So I feel, but I don't know enough about him. I don't know if he's like a manufactured metal persona, or if he is like an actual authentic performer.
He's actually a Republican donor, I think.
I don't know. It could be.
Yeah,
Started out as country and then pivoted.
He's good. He did Louis Theroux's podcast. He was quite thoughtful and interesting on that as well. But I think a lot of it's quite performative. I put him in the Machine Gun Kelly bracket of if you like him, then.
See, are we now in like a post music world where you can be a successful musician without actually having any hit songs?
I bet you money if I look him up, all of his songs are like at least 10 million listens.
Oh, I'm sure. The same thing. So, I put that in the same category as Rita Ora. I've never heard one of her songs before, yet she's well famous.
Yeah.
Cool. She's married to Taika Waititi, right?
That's right. Which seems like a slightly odd couple, but each their own.
A little bit.
Anywho, good Bundesliga chat here.
Yeah. Number one song right now is Zombie with 43.9 million. He has a 550 million download song or listen song. Yeah, he's doing all right. He's doing all right.
Ryan's got that.
Zombie, good song. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, let's talk Italy and Spain. Zombie.
I wish that's how it would have been sung.
Total Soccer Show, welcome back to the weekend review. Let's take ourselves to the Stadio Olimpico, where Inter got a 1-0 win over Roma. And Joan Boni with the goal for Inter in that one. Roma seemed to throw a lot at Inter in this one, Taylor, from what I could see. They just couldn't overcome that early goal, basically, is the story of this one.
It is cliche to say there's not enough scoring in Italy. It is probably also cliche to say, like, Roma don't have the talent that Inter do.
Well,
but it's kind of true in the end. Go ahead, Graham.
On that point, Taylor, on the lazy stereotype of calling Serie A defensive, until the Milan-Fiorentina game, which was the final game of this weekend, there had been 4 goals in 9 games, and the Milan-Fiorentina game was 0-0 at half-time. So I thought there was going to be 4 goals in 10 games. Half of the games had been 0-0 draws, so the stereotype is alive and well.
Bellissima. Hey, isn't that, I forget who said that, right? Like, that's the best game is 0-0 because it means everything went according to plan and everybody's game plan worked out. Sure. I would assume a 1-0 win is probably better. And maybe that was the actual quote. In this one, I guess a 1-0 win was the best result for Inter, who got the goal. For Roma, to Ryan's point, 15 shots, a single game XG of 1.35. They poured on the pressure. And Inter, I think, largely looked reactive, especially after they had the 1-0 lead. But most of those Roma chances ended up being from sort of tight angles, or they were like headers in traffic, or shots from a little bit further out that had numbers between them and the goal. And it just felt in the end like Roma didn't have that killer instinct, that one difference maker who could either individually create something or could, like, I say it sincerely, even though it sounds like in jest, like a Harry Maguire, like just popping up to get that clutch goal, to be there to meet the set piece and power that header home. Roma just didn't have that, and instead they had lots of players going close and almost getting there, but not quite connecting in a way that would have ended up putting the ball in the back of the net. So credit to Inter for holding on, but not my favorite game I watched this weekend.
Yeah, it didn't quite catch light in the way that I had hoped, and I did make a point of watching this game because I wanted to see Gasperini's Roma. Honestly, I felt I was underwhelmed by what they offered. I know what you guys are saying. Like, there was a period, or Ryan, what you were saying about like they threw a lot at them. There was a period from like 50 minutes. There was a 10-12 minute period from 50 to 62 or whatever where they had like 3 or 4 really good chances. There's the Dybala one where he's released in behind, and there's the save at the near post. Then there's the Jobbik header. There's a Sula shot of the wide post, wide of the near post as well on the right side. But outside those 10 minutes, I thought they were kind of quite insipid, and which is surprising for a Gasperini team because I think back to his Atalanta side, and they were just always so dynamic and mobile going forward, and players would chop and change positions, and all of a sudden the wing backs would be inside the penalty box, and that was what made them so exciting and ultimately successful. And while Roma seem to have like a good basis of talent, and obviously they've had a decent start to the season, I don't think we're quite seeing that dynamism from them yet, and so I'm hopeful we'll see that over the course of the season. But yeah, I thought Inter just had like better balance in this game, and they have actually built some momentum up after like a poor start to the season. I think they've won like 5 or 6 in a row in all competitions. Yeah. And Roma, they did have more possession, they had more shots. I presume they had higher XG when I went to check that this morning. I don't know if you guys slept through this, but the internet was dead this morning, so I couldn't. FOTMob wouldn't load for me, so I presume they had a higher XG as well. But I just thought Inter looked. It felt like they executed their game plan a little bit better than Roma, but on the whole, a pretty underwhelming game.
No, fair enough. Yeah. Well, Inter did go top of the league on Saturday with that win because Napoli suffered a 1-0 loss at Torino. Mr. Simeone getting the goal for Torino there. And also Como getting a 2-0 win over Juventus, ending Juventus' glorious streak of 5 successive draws with a loss there. Goal and assist for Nico Paz. Nico Paz is looking terrific this season. He looked terrific last season as well. He's a star for the future. I'm sure Real Madrid will call him back soon.
Yeah, he's going to be so good sitting on the bench for Real Madrid next season. I can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was Milan who went top of the table, that aforementioned final game of the round, that 2-0 win over Fiorentina. No Chrissy Pulisic, of course. He was injured for that one.
Did you all see that coverage of, like, Milan are furious? Did you all see that, like, when Pulisic returned, that they're like,
I didn't.
Milan are so angry with how this all played out. It's just like, he got fouled and, like, tweaked his hamstring. Is that egregious? Is that wrong? And then I think a lot of it had to do with like he was
manager
sent home.
Played his best player in a game.
Yeah, and it wasn't as though he overplayed him. It wasn't as though he like forced him to stay on or something. I think they were also mad that like the flights didn't work out, so that he got back later than they would have liked for him to start getting treatment. It's just like is that U.S. Soccer's fault? Like, do you need him on a Concorde? I don't think those run anymore. Like, it was very interesting the way it was perceived as like Milan are furious by the way this has gone. I'm assuming they're applying for compensation or something.
Yeah, come on, Taylor. They pride themselves on being extremely well organised in Italy,
yes,
so
of course,
it's just the diligence they would expect. Spain, La Liga. Interesting one, Graham, this weekend, with players in La Liga standing still for the first 15 seconds of all the game at kickoff to protest.
Did they, though? I don't know. If you watched American broadcasts, you might not have seen that.
That's the thing.
Or any broadcasts.
They were protesting the match was going to take place in Miami. Barcelona doing the same thing. Interesting that Barcelona are involved in that game and their players standing still for 15 seconds, but not on TV, as mentioned. The cameras conveniently cutting away to exterior shots of butterflies and rainbows at the point where the protest was taking place, Graham.
Yeah, and just a quick sort of clarification on what the protest is precisely about, because Barcelona and I think Villarreal did it as well in their game, and obviously they're the two teams that are slated to play in Miami. They were asked about it afterwards, and they said they're not necessarily against playing the games abroad, but the protest is the players haven't been consulted. So that maybe other teams are protesting the game being played abroad, but Barca players are getting away with it by saying, "Oh, well, we just wanted to be asked before."
I don't mind going. I just want to be asked. Okay,
yeah,
fine,
exactly. So, but that I just thought that's like one clarification to make. But yeah, Barcelona in their game, just kind of standard fare for them recently, which is to say the attacking talent that they have gets them over the line. Marcus Rashford absolutely cracks a free kick off the crossbar in this game.
Gakpo
Otherwise, yeah, he did Gakpo it. Otherwise, Girona created a good number of opportunities in behind, and another day they take something from this game. And of course, it's a stoppage time winner that Ronald Araujo turns into the back of the net to get Barcelona the 3 points. So we've got the Klassiker coming up this weekend, first Klassiker of the season. I think both teams are looking a little bit more vulnerable than they would have liked at this point of the season.
Yeah, definitely. By Axel Witzel's goal for Girona here.
Yeah.
I definitely knew Axel Witzel played for Girona, just so we all know. But the lovely overhead kick that he got for the consolation was very worth watching too. And Real Madrid with the 1-0 win at Getafe. Kylian Mbappe, of course, with the late winner there. And Getafe with 2 red cards, one of which for Alan Nyom, which he got for being on the field less than 1 minute. Bravo.
He got it for that?
Yeah.
That's it. Time's up.
You know what?
That's enough for you. The referee's not a fan. Yeah, he sent off after 30 seconds. I thought it was, I don't know, a little bit harsh. But yeah, I thought Real Madrid in this game, they laboured, they toiled. I watched this game at the same time as the F1 on Sunday night, and the F1 was infinitely more entertaining than this one. And it was the same theme for Real Madrid that they've had all season, where lacking in penetration, not really finding a lot of space, but then also being in control because they're closing down higher up the pitch is a lot better this season, so teams can't really play through them. And it's like their games at the moment are basically about neutralising the match and then relying on Mbappe to decide it with a moment, which is exactly what happened here in this game, and it's happened numerous times this season. I'm convinced I've watched like the same game from Real Madrid about 6 times this season. It goes like this every single match they play right now, which maybe says something about their consistency, but I've got to be honest, it's been a little bit dull so far. I never expected Alonso to get everything right straight away. I am not sure that I would have predicted that it would be boring as it has been so far this season. So maybe the Klassiker is the moment that, because the first real test they've had this season was against Atleti in the derby, and they got thumped in that game. So maybe this weekend is going to be the catalyst that we see the real sort of Real Madrid under Alonso emerge.
Yeah, and for context, listener, Graham's saying that a Max Verstappen win in the Grand Prix is more interesting than Real Madrid winning a game is damning with faint praise at best, I would suggest.
I mean, I can go right into F1 detail on F1 here, and it's looking pretty interesting, but we'll keep that for the Patreon.
No, we'll go to a F1 Extra on the Patreon for that one, patreon.com/TotalSoccerShow, where you'll also find Weekend Review Extra, all the games we couldn't squeeze into this because we were out of time on the main feed. You can find it there. So join us there, please, and thank you. But for now, Taylor Rockwell, thanks so much for your insight, as always.
Thanks so much, you, my friend.
Graham Ruthven, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ryan Bailey.
And listener, thank you to Moses for joining us on this one. We'll be back very shortly indeed on this feed. But for now, bye!